I'm Andreas Hamberger, and this is the Hamberger Report, where I cover AI governance, enterprise architecture, and the technology decisions that actually matter to the people who have to make them. If you find this useful, subscribe and hit the like button. It helps more professionals find the channel. Now let's get into it. In 2001, I typed a single line of code that turned off New Zealand's internet. Before I tell you that story, I need to tell you about the $10,000 I spent the same year. Both happened at Telecom XTRA. Both still matter in 2026. I'm Andreas Hamberger. This is the Hamberger Report, where I cover the untold history of the operating system that runs the world. It started on the NZ Lock mailing list, the New Zealand Linux user group. Someone was auctioning a package, the linux.co.nz domain name, the 08004 Linux toll-free phone number, and a personalized Linux number plate. All three sold as a single lot. I wanted them immediately, not because I had a business plan, not because I had run any kind of return on investment calculation. I wanted them because I was a Linux professional in New Zealand, and these three things together represented something technical competence alone could not buy: instant recognition. A bidder called B Gates kept pushing the price up. Whether that was the seller inflating the bid or someone genuinely competing, I never found out. I kept bidding. The price climbed past comfortable, past reasonable, all the way to $10,000, the exact limit on my credit card. I could not have bid 1 cent more. I won. And that purchase made on borrowed money, while the dot-com crash was still burning through the industry, has paid for itself many times over. The dot-com crash was still burning when I won that auction. Between March 2000 and October 2002, the Nasdaq lost nearly 78% of its value. Companies vanished. Domains hoarded by speculators who had built nothing turned out to be worth nothing. But the crash did not make namespaces irrelevant. It separated the strategic claims from the speculative ones. The names connected to real expertise held their value. The rest did not. Linux.co.nz changed my career equation immediately. Recruitment agents called back. Consulting clients already knew what I did before the conversation started. That identity was portable. It followed me regardless of which employer's badge I was wearing. The return has been extraordinary. The novel role, pre-sales specialist for enterprise Linux across Australia and New Zealand. Winning global awards, closing enterprise agreements across retail, government and telecommunications. The cumulative career value across 25 years well over $2 to $3 million. All of it traceable directly or indirectly to that $10,000 credit card bid. The naming insight runs deeper than one auction. Linus Torvalds initially wanted to call his operating system Frags. The FTP server administrator at Helsinki, Ari Lemke, named the directory Linux instead. One casual decision by one sysadmin shaped the identity of an operating system that now runs on everything from smartphones to the International Space Station. IBM acquired Red Hat, the company that built its identity around enterprise Linux, for $34 billion in 2019. The name you claim shapes the opportunities that find you. That principle does not age. Now the other story from the same year. I was Security and General Systems Team Leader at Telecom XTRA, responsible for the company's entire server base and network infrastructure. 300,000 customers. Telecom New Zealand was worth roughly a third of the entire New Zealand Stock Exchange. The task was routine, hardening an access control list on a core border router. The kind of work I had done dozens of times. On a Cisco router, access lists are processed sequentially, top to bottom. First match wins. A deny all rule belongs at the bottom of the list, as the final catch-all after all the permit statements have done their work. I put it in the wrong position. The router did exactly what I told it to do. It denied all traffic, every packet, every protocol, every customer. I looked at my watch, 1 minute, then 47 seconds more. In the retelling over the years, I compress it to 47 seconds, because that is how memory works with adrenaline. The reason this lasted under 2 minutes was not automated failover. It was not sophisticated architecture. It was Andrew, a core router network specialist. Before I made the change, I had walked over to his desk and given him one instruction. If connectivity drops, power cycle the router. Do not wait, do not diagnose, just hit the button. Andrew saw the monitoring screens go dark. He counted to 10, confirming it was not transient. Then he hit the power button, the router rebooted, the saved configuration loaded, traffic resumed, 1 minute and 47 seconds. Total cost, 0 customer complaints. In 2001, 90 seconds of internet loss looked exactly like a dial-up disconnection. Nobody called. The outage happened because Telecom XTRA had no test router environment. There was no lab where I could apply a configuration change to an identical router, verify that traffic still flowed, and replicate it in production. The only way to test a change on the core border router was to apply it to the core border router, in production carrying traffic for 300,000 customers. This was normal for the era. Test environments cost money. Identical hardware for a lab meant purchasing routers that would never carry a single customer packet. After the outage, I made the case for one. I got a dedicated test router a few months later. In the months between the incident and the arrival of that lab, I made 0 configuration changes to the production routers. None. If there was no safe way to test, there was no safe way to deploy. XTRA was, on the surface, a Solaris and Windows shop. Linux was not in the official architecture, but Linux was there, quietly, on commodity hardware, doing the work nobody had thought to ask the enterprise platforms to do. Monitoring servers, the systems that watched the systems. When Andrew's power cycle brought the border router back, the first confirmation I had that connectivity had been restored came from a Linux monitoring box. It had noticed the outage, it had noticed the recovery, it had logged both events with precise timestamps that let me reconstruct exactly what happened and how long it lasted. Longest expensive systems in the building went dark because of one misplaced line. The cheapest system in the building told me exactly when they went dark and exactly when they came back. Two stories from 1 year at one company. What do they mean now? The namespace lesson has scaled beyond domains and number plates. By early 2026, more than 130 government-backed sovereign AI projects exist across over 50 countries. Every government, every enterprise worth attending to is asking the same question: who owns the models, the data, the compute, the governance layer? The organizations that control those elements will hold advantages that compound across decades. The ones leasing everything from someone else's infrastructure will find themselves in the same position as the companies that never registered their own domain, dependent on what they do not own, paying rent on what should have been theirs. For technology leaders in Aotearoa, New Zealand, this is not abstract. The decisions being made now about data residency, cloud sovereignty, and AI governance will determine whether New Zealand organizations own their technological future or rent it. The test environment lesson is equally direct. Gartner projects that more than 40% of agentic AI projects will fail or be cancelled by 2027. The leading failure pattern is consistent. Agents deployed into production without defined failure modes, without tested rollback paths, and without human oversight at the moments that matter most. This is the access list problem at machine speed. Andrew's finger on the power button was not automation. It was governance. A competent person, briefed on the risk, empowered to act, watching the system at the moment of highest vulnerability. 25 years later, that is still the oversight model most AI deployments are missing. The Linux plate sits on my wall now. Linux kernel 7.0 entered release candidate phase in February 2026, with Rust support officially stable. The operating system runs the GPU clusters training frontier models, the Kubernetes clusters orchestrating agentic workflows, and the monitoring platforms watching those agents for anomalous behavior. The same open source foundations that logged my 47 seconds in 2001 underpin the infrastructure layer of every serious AI system in 2026. If you are following the untold history of the operating system that runs the world, subscribe to the Hamberger Report. New episodes in the History of Linux series every week. That is the Hamberger Report for today. If this was useful, subscribe and hit the like button. It helps more professionals find the channel. You will find links to everything we covered in the description below. I am Andreas Hamberger, and I will see you tomorrow.